Hello, my name is Steve Howard, and I'm a Microsoft technical trainer. And I want to take just a few minutes today to demo to you a conversational tool that you can use when you are studying the language. Now, you know that we have a number of challenges as we are studying the language. We have a lot of resources to choose from, and trying to find the right resources is difficult enough. But then we also have the challenge of finding a conversation partner. And we need to be able to speak and we need to be able to hear or listen in order to develop conversational skills. Now, a lot of times, if you're going to class, you have a lot of other learners and their accent's not good. And it's very difficult to learn much by listening to them. We get listening practice and things like that. But then, whenever it gets into our world, it's difficult for us to be situationally fluent in the parts of the world that we're going to interact with. And you also know that you have four different skills when you're learning a language. You're reading, you're writing, you're listening, and speaking. So I am going to do something today that makes me a little bit nervous to do in front of you. I'm going to use my second and third languages. And the reason I'm choosing these is because in Spanish, I am much stronger. It's much easier for me to speak than it is to understand. I have a real problem when people speak to me understanding what they say. Now, in Korean, I have heard Korean in my home for 40 years. My wife always speaks to me in Korean. I've lived in Korea and worked in Korea too. So I have been able to get along just fine in the Korean language, but it's been a while. And now I spend 8 hours a day speaking in English in classes or studying and preparing in English. That doesn't leave me a lot of mind space to think in the other languages. And my Korean is becoming more and more difficult for me to think and speak in. And so I understand quite naturally in Korean most of the time. I'm much stronger at understanding than I am in Spanish, but I am struggling more and more to speak in Korean. So here I'm going to use my conversation partner, and that is Copilot. Now I'm going to share my system sound and also my screen over here. And I'm going to let me just go here again to drag this sharing thing off of here so that doesn't bother me. I'm going to go back into copilot.microsoft.com. Okay, now this will be the public version of Copilot. Now you need to sign in with your Microsoft account. That could be a hotmail.com, live.com, outlook.com. You can also create Microsoft accounts with Gmail or yahoo.com. Once you do, you get these options like right here, the think deeper when responding. I'm not going to go there today. I'm going to go to this right here, which will enable me to talk to Copilot and have Copilot talk back to me. Now, this is also available on the phone. And in fact, that's how I normally use it because I'm a very early riser. When I get up early in the morning, nobody else is awake in my house. And so what am I going to do? Studying seems like a good thing, a good use of my time. And what do I need to study? This is one big thing I need to study right now because I plan to retire in Mexico, not too many years, and because I need to keep up my conversation skills with my wife. So let's get started and let's see how this works.
Hey, Steven, I'm here and ready to help.
Hola, Copilot. Quisiera practicar conversación en español con el dialecto y acento del sur de México. Cuando estoy en una conversación en español, incluso cuando tengo las palabras, mi mayor problema es entender cuando alguien me habla. Y una cosa más, cuando estamos hablando en español, me llamo Esteban.
Entendido, Esteban, poder entender a otros cuando hablan es un desafío común. Practicar escuchando distintos acentos y hablar regularmente puede ayudar. ¿Qué te parece si practicamos un poco? Puedo hablar con acento sureño para que te acostumbres.
I actually don't think that's a Southern Mexico accent, but anyway, I can understand pretty much what we're talking about. And I can challenge his accent and tell him that I need to change the accent if there's any difficulty with that. Right now, I just clicked the button so he can't listen to me. Copilot's not listening to me, so he's not going to respond while I'm talking back to my audience here. But I'm going to give him something that I want to talk about, and actually, I may want to tell him to use the accent of Southern Mexico. Usando el acento del sur de México, tengamos una conversación sobre un día en la playa.
Vale, Esteban, imagina que estamos en una playa de Oaxaca con sus aguas cristalinas y arena dorada. ¿Cómo te imaginas que sería el día perfecto allí?
Okay, and so it's not like listening practice where somebody's reading a script to me because I really don't know what he's going to say. It's going to be much like talking with another human. So I must listen for understanding to be able to speak back to him. And the nice thing about this is the conversation that we're having, as soon as I X off, I have a transcript over here. So if I have words that I need to focus on, then I can go back and spend the time focusing on those words, studying those particular words. And that way I don't waste my time on something I'm already strong in. I can just focus on what I need to be stronger in. Okay, now I told you that my speaking skill is stronger than my listening skill in Spanish. I'm going to open another session here just because since we've already started in Spanish and since I already gave him that context, it's possible that he may start giving me explanations in Spanish if I change into another language. Most times it's good, but since I'm in a demo here, I don't want to deal with that if that's what happens. So I'm going to go back into copilot.microsoft.com. Now you're going to hear, uh, probably even if you don't speak Korean, you're probably going to hear that it's more difficult for me to find my words when I'm speaking in Korean. And so that's what my struggle is going to be. I'm going to explain that to Copilot as well, and we will just start our conversation this way. So let's go.
Hey, Steven, I'm here.
안녕하세요, Copilot. 서울 사투리와 억영어로 한국어 대화 연습하고 싶어요. 제가 한국어로 대화할 때 대체로 잘 이해하지만 점점 말하기 어려워지고 있어요.
안녕하세요, 스티븐. 네, 제가 도와드릴게요. 한국어 연습을 어떻게 시작해 볼까요? 일상 대화나 특정 주제에 대해 이야기하고 싶으신가요?
Okay, so now I can give a subject that I want to talk about. So let's just stick with the same subject that I gave in Spanish. Let's talk about a day on the beach. One of the times when I did this conversation before, it was really interesting because right here, before I gave him a subject, he commented to me about the Seoul dialect that I asked him about, Seoul dialect and accent. And he explained that there were several other dialects in Korea, and actually, I am more familiar with the Gyeongsangdo Satri, the Gyeongsangdo dialect, which is around Busan, than I am with the Seoul dialect. And so it was just an interesting conversation. He started off on history. He didn't do that this time. So once again, I can't predict what he's going to talk about, and this is great conversation practice just because it's unpredictable, just like a human is. And so I have to think like that in order to have the conversation. Okay, so let's go back and let's set up what we need to talk about. You see, I'm gonna click on my microphone so he can listen again. 해변에서 하루를 보내는 것에 대해 이야기해 봅시다.
좋아요. 보통 평일 하루는 어떻게 보내세요? 일하거나 공부하시는 일정이나 취미 활동 등이 있으신가요?
I love it. I love the casual way he's talking to me too. Okay, so this is a very good thing. And actually, in a language like Korean, I say casual, and some of the I guess colloquial terms that you will use, and the verb endings, the honorific stems, and all of these grammar points here, they change according to who is talking to who. So if I am talking to an elder, I have to speak to them one way. If a grandchild's talking to a grandparent, they have to speak in very honorific terms. And there's a different way that you'll speak when you're speaking to somebody your own age or somebody younger than you. And so this, that's part of what I'm hearing as I'm listening to this. I don't expect that you'll follow every detail of our conversation. To be honest, it's at times especially in Spanish, when he was talking to me in Spanish, it's a struggle for me to understand everything. And that's part of the point. It gives me something that I need to learn. Okay, now this, like the other, I can X off here. He's no longer listening. And I have the conversation dialogue that we had. So anything that I had difficulty understanding, I can go here and I can read and I can focus in on just that part. And I'm actually really glad to see that it transcribed all of my words correctly, which means that my pronunciation must have been pretty good. Okay, so this is my conversation partner, is patient, never gets upset with me when I ask him how to say something, which actually is something else that I should cover.
해변에서 보내는 하루는 여행이든 휴식이든 늘 기대되죠.
Still got
어떤 활동을 가장 즐기시는지요?
still on the same subject, but you know what? When your speaking skill is weaker than your listening skill, sometimes you need to say something and you're not sure how. And so another thing I could do so that I can focus my study is this. Copilot, how would I say I enjoy swimming out from the beach into the open water for a long swim in Korean?
해변에서 바다로 나가 장시간 수영하는 것을 즐깁니다. 라고 말하시면 돼요.
Very good. And so, see, he's my conversation partner, never gets upset with me when I ask silly questions, and I'm going to ask some when I'm working on one skill or another. I'm going to ask grammar questions and be able to answer my grammar questions for me. It's a great conversation partner. And as such, it becomes a great tool for language learning. So Copilot, even just the public version, is a great tool for language learning. I'm Steve Howard. I'm a Microsoft technical trainer. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and I hope that you get use out of what we're sharing here. Thank you and goodbye.